Hello guys, welcome today to this rainy season live. Today we are at the Peace Museum in Osaka, which is a museum and memorial about the wartime. So we're gonna go through that today, so it will be quite a short stream, but hopefully somewhat interesting, educating for all of us. So let's start right away. Yeah, okay, we're in business now. Here we are, okay. I have a compensation setting, you know, it was that simple. Okay, so connection is not that great. That will be a problem. We'll see. So, in 1945, Osaka was engulfed in fire. This is a very grim topic, so you know everything is gray things. So I will go slowly on this. This is the landscape of Osaka in 1945, after the bombings started on the mainland Japan. So what you see there in the background is the castle. So, did I get disconnected and reconnected or not? Okay, I got cut off on that one. So we are on a third video here. That sucks a bit. But okay, let's give it a try. Connection is really bad. So this is the landscape of Osaka, middle of 1945. Air raids were conducted between March and August 1945. Here we do have So the area in which we are now, next to the castle. So those waterways you can look for, you won't find. The Namba area, Dotonbori. This is the south of Osaka from Sakai. All burnt down. So, of course, as expected, the version of facts is quite Japanese-sided. They really ignore destruction lived in Asia by their hand and destruction to European countries by the Nazis' hands. At least they talk about the takeover of Asia by Japanese, so So this is about the wars of Japan against Russia and against China. This is end of 19th century, beginning of the 20th. Japanese were on the Allies' side, basically, during the First World War. From there, they expanded to take over Asia. So this is basically the takeover of south of China by Western countries and Japan. It was a part of the war reparations, I think. Then you can read about the incidents and the ways they were used and stuff like this. I would recommend Tintin, of course. Just 1 or 2 minutes more for the video. So they do explain about the need for Japanese to take over power, to share with the Allies, with the Western countries. So, you know, that part is kind of factual, it's alright. So I invite you to read how the conquest of Indochina went. It's not studied at school in France, but you know, if you read about it, I think you are in for a few surprises. That's a bit of katakana studies they showed us. The war effort, situation up to Midway. Of course, labor of all ages was solicited for the war effort in Japan. So you had factories around the Ôsaka castle, and in 1945 Americans can finally reach the mainland of Japan and will start bombing. So they are briefly shown the places that have been bombed. So I think that's the Potsdam, yeah, that's Potsdam, the Potsdam meeting. And then, of course, they talk about nuclear bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and finally talk about the Yalta deal. So, where Russia took over the northern islands of Japan. Okay, that's it. So let's move on to the rest. So here, this is on the left, the wars of Japan with Russia and China. Basically the same information they gave us in the video. Same maps and things, a bit more details. They do, make remarks about the power relationships between World War I and what led to World War I. And then the 30s, the war. The repartition of the Axis against the Allies in the Pacific, and the conflict areas during Second World War. On the other wall, they take us through the victims of war technologies. I don't know why, but this starts with the balloon. Then here we are on the Sino-Japanese war, so China and Japan war, with 13,000 military men killed. Then we move on to the Russo-Japanese War, 1904-1905, with 130,000 soldiers dead. Then we move to World War I, with all the new weapons. Here they start to show the repartition: civilians 6 million and soldiers 8 million. I would need to go through their data. I'm feeling a bit uncomfortable with it, but anyways. Then the 39-45 conflict, up to 34 million people dead and 15 million soldiers dead. with all the new technologies. So some Japanese ones, some American ones. And that's it. Hello guys, I'm getting worried. I see quite a few viewers, but I don't see any message in the chat. Do I have any lurkers today? Or is my chat failing? Give me a second for me to reload it. Yeah, okay, well. So for Osaka, actually what happened is that we had a development of the area as the military base and armament production zone. So it started small like this. So this is when it started in 1870 and all the way to 1941 when it was that big complex in the Morinomiya Kyobashi area. Morinomiya is around here, Kyobashi here, so you have factories and military caserns. Here you have in blue where all the factories were and stuff. The complex you can see quite a few photos of actually was organized like this. Let's see, can I get more balance? Yep. Okay. So yeah, so you did have armament right next to the castle. You see, right at the bottom of the castle, you did that stuff. Yeah, the factories. This is 15 centimeters cannon they were making. This is 27 centimeters. And the 88 something. So, what do we have here? Here we have the life in Osaka before things. So, those are desks used at school during this time, and they show you the difficulties people had to live by at that time. So you at this place. So this statue was dedicated to 29 boys that were evacuated from Tokushima, and 16 of them died in 1945. So a jizo was built for them. It is inside the Minami Miyakojima Elementary School. So today I'm testing new settings, so I might run into issues. So I might disappear at some point. We don't know. Connection is not that good. iPhone 6s might not be doing the best of work, so Here we are. So animals, of course, from the Tennoji Zoo suffered. Hunger issues, you know, you've seen that in Miyazaki's movies. Okay, the iPhone is overheating, so I guess I will have to take a break and do a second video with a different setting. Do I have any diagnosis about this overheat? No, I don't. So, of course, education was also through work. And actually, some schools stopped teaching to prepare the protection of the mainland. So they were ready to sacrifice kids. So in April 1941, the local elementary schools were converted to a national school with a compulsory education, 6 years elementary and 2 years of higher secondary. So national education is recent in Japan. That's only wartime and after. So here we do have a few images we've seen before of Osaka before war. Okay, 1912 Luna Park, 1931 construction of the castle, 1937 Midosuji subway and avenue, immigration to Manchuria during occupation. So I don't want to read those kanjis. Some postcards here. Women Organization for Defense. To the other side, we do have like propaganda posters for the war effort. Things like this. Here you can see what they were wearing, uniform for youth to the right, and to the left, I guess that might have been for the girls or for studying. You notice the protection hat. So the military did control life at that time. Japanese were not actually having any much liberty in their own country at that time. It is softer, less political, but more ideological than in Germany at the same time. The war dead in 1944. So the 700,000 is mostly soldiers for the Japanese, and the number for Chinese is really low. That's pretty, you know, ideological choice. Regular homes and shelters. Some homemade shelters. You can actually see it. Okay, overheating is really hitting hard, so I will stop the live here for a second. I will be back with better, with a different setting. And the chat is also, broken it seems. So be patient, guys. I'll be back. Okay, guys. I know why I didn't see the chat. Okay, I finally found the reason. Hopefully by the time the live goes on properly, it will be fixed. So I'm waiting for a second to give you all the explanations you want to hear. So basically I had a double problem. I had two PCs overheating, the iPhone 6s and the gimbal were overheating, so I had to cut the recording, change my setting. So now we are filming with the XR again. And we are without gimbal now because I need to let the gimbal cool down. Okay, and hopefully my app is updated now, so I do have the chat working properly. So sorry, there will be no balance to the image. So I will try to be careful with balance, but yeah. No gimbal. So here we have the paintings of the Osaka Air Red experiences. So those drawings were made by people, adults and or kids, who lived through the bombings of 1945. So this is the Midosuji Avenue, March 13th to 14th. I feel I'm overexposed. No, is this? So let's see. I have a better connection now. That's good. Okay. This one. So this one talks about burn injuries, kids caring for each other, for siblings. Drone bodies in a reservoir. Ouch. Okay, so it was water that was derived to be used as a reservoir and bodied bodies just were carried on by the stream to the reservoir. School and house in flames. Rations given after the air raids. They were given white rice. They used their hands or handkerchiefs to get the rice. And boys actually used their hearts. So the air raid, factory on fire. Juso on fire. So it was a factory for airplanes. Dojima River with geysers because of the bombing. The bombs going on, or going off actually, would be the right expression. So this person says her mother turned up 5 years later in the debris of a school on side of the road. They say even the river was on fire. The river was covered in flames. So even though people jumped from their homes on fire in the water, they would not be saved. They would keep on burning. So the bombs that were dropped on Osaka and Tokyo at least were incendiary bombs. It was not yet napalm, but it was incendiary. So, for those watching, if you have just a message in the chat, it was not working before, but I hope now that it is working. I did fix some stuff. We changed the setting, so should be all right. So here, strafe on the Tondabayashi station. Flesh scattered on utility poles after the air raid. Before daybreak of August 15th, 1945, people are carrying the bodies of those who died in the air raid the day before. So it is pretty gruesome. So I don't have any gimbal anymore. The gimbal overrated. So okay, that one is terrible. Younger sister on fire. Okay, in Tsurumibashi Street 8, Chome, in Nishinariku, a mother badly burnt on the left side of her body while trying to save her 3.5-year-old daughter who was on fire. This is March 13 to 14th, night of March 13 to 14th, 1945. So that's the first air raid on Osaka. Kids in a pond to escape the fire. So dead people, burn people on the side of the street. So this is on the rails of the tram in Daikokucho. First air raid. Shinsaibashi subway station. The ground above was covered in a sea of flames, but the subway platform was safe underground. So that was from hell to heaven going down. A mother bravely carried her baby on her back and her other child in her left arm with all her strength without falling down, even though she was burnt. As I watched her, I thought she seemed like a heroine or a goddess. That was near Ukishima Bridge in Minatoku. In a wheat field, a young mother who was breastfeeding her baby was killed by strafing. An old lady next to her had to have her right arm amputated later. So there were still flames as I wandered in the black rain around the west side of Weonmachi 7 or 8 Shome in Tennojiku. I saw a mother and a child burned to death. The mother's body was leaning forward, looking up at the sky out from the buried red shelter. The baby was held tightly by her mother. Okay. Burned buildings of the Sakai City Hospital. Just all burnt, all grey, just ruins. A scene from 1 week after August 14th, where there was a big bombing at JNR, Japan National Railway, Morinomiya. So it was bent, the beams were bent like waves, and the arsenal under bombing. August 14th, 1945. Okay, we keep going down. So this is the most gruesome piece of the museum, where they take you through the rubble. They show you the explanation of the city in rubble. Cannot really see with I will try to put the exposure down. Give me a second. Try to compensate so you can see better the screen. So the city was burned to the ground for the most part. We'll see the map, but since it was mostly incendiary bombs. So modern buildings of the 30s were still up, damaged but still up, but all the wooden houses burned down. So for what? Let me bring back the compensation. Okay. So when attacked by a tremendous number of incendiary bombs overnight, wooden houses burst into flames instantly, and the heat from the bomb generated more heat. There is a record for the height of flames and smokes, which reached about 7,000 meters high. Parents ran away carrying about their children, children about their parents, husbands about their wives, and vice versa. This display shows the damage to the Korean bell by fire. You can also see coins melted together by the heat. Their figures tells us about the terrorizing effect of the incendiary bomb attack. So, talking about this part, I guess. I don't really see what is the coin thing. They tell us to look at this and this, but don't make much sense to me. The bombs. The technique for clustering. Cannot drink inside the museum. We'll have to endure. So they do explain how the E-46 500-pound bomb worked. It was basically cluster bombs. Parts of a plane that was taken down. The pumpkin bombs. I think I will lose the network if I go in here, but here you have the experience of being in a shelter with sounds. Let me see. Connection is not dropping too much. I think getting in would be trouble, definitely. Yeah, I cannot go further than this, I will lose it. think they should put like a hairdryer or something blowing hot hair down there to go with the lighting. So we're in the dark because the room is in the dark, and here they show you where the city was hit. Salut Mini-moi, salut les Obimos, c'est une simulation des abris pendant les bombardements de 1945 à Osaka. Try to get the image on the ground as well. 1937年、日中戦争勃発。1941年には太平洋戦争へと突入した。C'était un abri pendant bombardement. Cet endroit sombre et rouge. Il devrait rajouter un jet d'air chaud pour marquer encore plus les gens. À partir de Saipan et Guam, les Américains peuvent commencer à bombarder le Japon. Ouais, c'était dur. Ouais. Ils font beaucoup dans le sensationnalisme pour marquer les gens. Et toute la partie un peu culpabilité du Japon a été supprimée après protestation du gouvernement japonais. Au départ, ils avaient toute petite partie, mais ils avaient une partie qui parlait des crimes de guerre japonais. Mais suite à des protestations nationalistes, je vous parlais de ça il y a 15 ans au moins, ils ont dû supprimer cette partie-là. Donc c'est que du sensationnalisme pour faire pleurer le japonais sur le terrible sort du peuple japonais pendant la guerre. Elle nous parle des bombardements au B-29. Sort qui était dur, mais qui n'était pas plus dur que le sort du peuple allemand au même moment dans Dresde et ce genre d'endroit, quand au moment du débarquement, Le Havre. Eux, ils ont connu les moments durs qu'en 1945, que pendant l'année 1945. D'autres pays ont connu le même sort pendant plusieurs années. Ça, en rouge, là, c'est les zones qui ont brûlé dans la ville.
終戦前日8月14日には森の宮の大阪砲兵交渉を狙った対空襲により京橋駅周辺で大きな被害となった。
Donc cette zone-là a été particulièrement touchée parce qu'il y avait cette énorme usine à côté du château d'Osaka et une base militaire. Le premier bombardement, 4000 morts, deuxième bombardement, 3000 morts, deuxième bombardement, 3000 morts, troisième, 2700, quatrième, 500, cinquième, 700 morts, sixième, 1400, septième, 214, huitième, 360 morts. Au total, 12 000 morts. Voilà, c'est la guerre quoi, c'est dégueulasse pour tout le monde. Donc là vous avez encore des images des destructions de la ville. La ville a été, c'est comme le Havre, hein, c'est vraiment un nettoyage par le vide. Ces quartiers-là ont entièrement brûlé quoi. Vous voyez, toutes les jolies petites maisons qui avaient des structures en béton, ben, il reste le béton après, mais le reste, la maison, elle n'y est plus quoi. So here you have the testimonies of survivors. Yeah, it's a list of survivors who tell their story in here in this video. You have seats here and subtitles, so you can stay to have a look at those, listen to them. If you didn't have the opportunity to hear from the previous generations of your relatives about it, that's something to listen to. Ah oui, non, ils font vraiment dans le dramatique, ils tirent sur toutes les ficelles. Hein. Qu'est-ce qu'on a ici? L'avantage de ce musée-là, c'est qu'il y a beaucoup de choses en anglais. The advantage of this museum, you have a lot more explanations in English. So this is a wheel. It's personal effects, I guess, of young soldiers. This is a list of tips for soldiers. So from the same owner as the materials in the showcase on the right, daily necessities that may have been used by the owner's family. So they have a scale, a abacus, a pot to steam rice, clothing, hard helmet. I think it's young soldiers that were not sent to the front, but that were preparing to protect from invasion of the main island. China. This was made in occupied Japan. Oh, this is so when the Americans took over after the war, you know, Japanese consider themselves occupied country. So this is silverware, not. This is tableware engraved, made in occupied Japan. So you have an English descriptive for every object. So this is good, you know. You do get good info here. They are purposed to Japanese and to foreigners. So even though it's pretty grim, It's an interesting visit. You get as much out of it than Japanese people. Wow! Why am I so overexposed today? That's weird. So this is Toki no Niwa, a place to commemorate those who perished in the Ôsaka raids and praying for lasting peace. So official number of victims 9,136. It's more complicated than that for the numbers, but anyways. So you do have bells. Now this had to be a non-controversial list. So I guess it's only civilians, kids and stuff. So 9,000 names on here. I think they might include names of survivors who finally died years after. It's possible. It's a pretty disturbing space they made here, actually. On the tiles, they did put a lot of symbols, like kind of childish symbols for peace. All over the place. That's on all tiles. So there's an auditorium. I don't know what's in the auditorium today. They do have presentations and conferences sometimes, but nothing on at the moment. I don't see any. Okay, they might show this. My exposition is weird today. And here you go. I think this is what they might be showing. Those movies. Okay, so we'll take the elevator up. It's only one floor, so I hope the connection will hold. Maybe I want to actually go 2 floors up. I want to go up all the way. Not entirely, but yes, not that many people around. That's the good point these days. Okay, here I'm back again. So 2 floors was too much. Connection could hold only 1 floor up on the elevator. Okay, things seems to be back to normal. So here you get testimonies. I need to do some upgrades onto my settings to do museums like this. I lost connection so many times today, so population in Osaka, 4.6 millions in 41, 2.8 millions in 45, and 4.07 millions in 51. There was black market. So here again you have English explanations. You do have some images about, Americans being around. The HQ of Osaka. You see, every possible place was used to grow rice and things like this. Number of houses went from 600,000 in 41 to less than 300,000 in 46. Here you had the public buses used for housing. That was in Asahiku. Rationing and system and black market. Prices. So this was basically a backpack for provisions. Yes, we still have survivors. I can talk about it for sure. Okay, that backpack is pretty heavy. I need to use my full strength to manipulate it. I can't do things with one hand. So human suffering, difficulties, people hurt, all these kinds of things. The difficult schooling of kids, the meal provided to children at school. The cultural activities. So there was a revival of Matsuri and things like this. Got cinema, movies around. Then it quickly modernized. The main highway above Honmachi, Senba. So this is the 60s, I think. The Tutankaku rebuilt. The underground in Umbeda, where you cannot shoot, remember? Obon Matsuri activities. And 30 years later, 25 years later actually, Expo 17 in Osaka. The price of things back then, the yen was stronger, so just you need to comparison for that. And that's it. After that, it's the constitution that was promulgated in 46. Interdiction of war for Japan. New relations. So it's all on the positive vibes, And then all the commiserating about war everywhere in the world. All the issues about wars nowadays. Cooperation with UNICEF. So here actually you can make donations to UNICEF to help children in need all over the world. They talk about what Japanese do all over the world now. Surviving of people in mostly war conditions. So there is a song that was written in 2001 for peace that you have here. So inspired by a gospel, I think. So those are all the spots about where they keep the reminders of the war. Some pieces of what happened during the war. Kind of a map of memorials. So actually I should get a picture of those and make sure we will go see those. This is it. So, and just like other museums around, like the History Museum yesterday, you have local resources on the subject. You have, so it's not open at the moment because of, the current situation, but you have booths where you can actually watch DVDs and VHS on this subject. Very variable in quality, but they gather resources. On the subject. So yesterday at the Museum of History of Osaka, you do have, it was completely closed, but they do have a resource center as well. So here it's mostly videos, but at the Museum of History of Osaka, it's a lot of books available, a lot of written sources, not the specialty here. It's not an official research center, you know, so. Okay, since you guys showed up a bit late in the live and I still have a little bit of time in front of me, we might redo the beginning of the exhibition. We have a better camera, so we might redo the first part to get a better image about stuff. What do you think? Especially if I can get better images of that first room with the big wall. So the title when you enter is in 1945 Osaka was engulfed in fire. Connection is still not good here, that sucks. But you see this big wall? So that's where you can see that the castle, the dungeon of the castle, did survive. Parts surrounding it burnt, but the main castle that was finished in 31 didn't burn down. Unlike all the wooden houses of all those places. So you see even concrete buildings, you know, only walls kept standing. So the main part of those walls were destroyed by fire in a few nights. Here you have the Kyobashi area. So you have the castle top right. And you see more of those buildings. The current form, this is 2010. And this is how it looks now, and how it looked in 45. Dot on body. Dot on body before. After and nowadays. The Ibisu Bridge. Yeah, I am in Osaka International Peace Center. So we did stop a long time in front of this video that explains how it came that Osaka was bombed, basically. So we have the wars of Japan, China, Russia, First World War and Second World War on the left wall, and the right wall, the victims of new weapons in the last 150 years, from the Sino-Japanese War in 1894, with 13,000 soldiers dead, up to World War I, with all its fancy new weapons, and 6.6 million civilian victims for 8 million soldiers. And then World War II, up to 34 million civilians dead, 15 million soldiers. I'm not sure about those numbers. Doesn't feel right, but anyways. And all the brand new weapons that were used. You see that they don't all go for the Americans, you know, they show quite a few Japanese weapons as well, so, you know, there is no underlying blame on that. Japanese weapons are as murderous as American ones, so as I said when I first visited, actually this place had a section, small, but they had a section at first about Japanese war crimes during World War II and before. And nationalists and the government actually protested to the local government to have it suppressed. So you don't have any message of this kind anymore in this place. As you've seen in Ghibli movies and stuff, hunger for kids has been a big trauma for Japanese. Of course, they had kids sent around the country to try to protect them. You have the exemplary youth, that was the first generation. Yeah, now the drones kill without any risk. It's feeling less murder. So the exemplary youth was trained to defend the mainland if it was to be attacked by Americans. So, you know, when Americans say, yeah, we had to use the bomb to make the Japanese give up, they were not wrong in some aspects. Here we have a statue that was dedicated for 16 boys who died in the night of January 1945, January 29th. Yeah. It's a fire, it's not a bomb. And they have a jizo in a local place. Where is it? Where is the part they wrote about mandatory? Oh yeah, okay, here. So it's in April 1941 that the elementary school was converted to a local system to a national system. It was moved from, they introduced a 6 years elementary and 2 years higher secondary. And that started with the exemplary youth we saw just before to defend the mainland, but it was, you know, kept on after that to some aspects. In April 45, all schools were stopped, except those for exemplary youth. So, this area in Osaka had a big complex. It was a military base and a military-industrial complex. All this blue part next to the castle. So it looked like this. It's a big complex that developed over time, starting in 1817, mostly on what is called OBP now, and Morinomiya, and then it increased in size up to 1941 when it was at its biggest. So the left part being the castle. Seems Japan a very Pacific-minded country, and for reasons. So how the nationalism and behind the idea of the auto defense force to become an army again still remains popular. Japanese people are not naturally peace-oriented. They have been fighting each other for many years in very cruel ways. So now I would contest your premises. No, they are not more peace-loving than anybody else, actually. No more than any other country. Let's go first camera. I would contest your premise, really. They are not more peace-oriented than any other country. But they are pragmatic in some ways. And when they saw that, they cannot beat Westerners to that kind of activities, they gave up and went to something else. So, Japanese basically have a complex of inferiority to other, especially Western civilization. And so when they took on imperialism and stuff to be the equal of the Westerners that took over China, they were really thinking that it was like the end of history, like someone else would say. That would be the last move. And it ended up not being the last move, and so they basically saw that there was no hope there. There will be one more battle later on for them. A battle is final. When you lose the war, you've lost forever, because usually in the Japanese culture, you die out of it. So people were, through the suffering of 1945 and that feeling of defeat, just all this energy was moved to something else, and Japanese don't see that violence anymore as a possibility, as a solution to any kind of problem. It has to be done a different way. War was not the right solution, and so they take the consequences of that and they move on to something else. But they are not peaceful at heart at first, They grew into being peaceful by trauma of the World War II. I lost the cap of my lens. That sucks. That is really, really bad. How can I put things away if that's okay. I'm not happy about that. This is anything here. Okay, the gimbal did. Okay. Did cool down, so that's good. But I hate when I do that. Okay. So I'm good to buy a new one. Oh no, I found it, guys. Yeah, I stopped again at the same place and it was on the floor. Lucky me. Est-ce que mon explication te va en anglais ou est-ce que tu veux que je la fasse un peu plus profonde en français, Zobimo? So the place we're in today is this one. So you have a pretty extensive pamphlet given at the entrance in English. You have the essentials in there. And you can buy some other documents to get more info. A second. So this is it. Ôsaka International Peace Center. I do have critics for it, but it's a useful place. It's an interesting place. It's meant to make you cry on people, but you should always cry on dead people. About school, do you know how post-war and US dominance is introduced? I bet the embarrassment of having been ruled by another country after losing the war, well, who is winning anyway during the war? Owning a nation is less and less something you can. Well, for what I have seen my kids learn at school, actually, it's basically that approach that is used at school. You know, it's all about, you know, taking the easy tier on the poor Japanese people. There is no culpability really induced to children about what Japanese could have done bad. There is no reflection about was imperialism evil from the beginning and stuff like this. So older generation lost the war and really held the ground against Americans. So, you know, you'd have the go home Yankees and stuff. And then the next generation was moved on to prosperity, to the economical war, basically, because instead of doing war with weapons, they decided to move on to the economic side of things and to just become richer and buy out whatever. Even their target was not to buy out, but they wanted to be a rich country, because actually being rich was something, as in, was a premise before even imperialism. They realized that. So the next generation was on a different battlefield, which was the economy. And then they lost it for other reasons, again, but with the crack at the end, the bursting of the bubble at the end of the 80s. So that is a second generation that is traumatized because, you know, something went wrong. And now we are moving to another generation that has a different, that doesn't care so much about the war and money, and that is learning something else, like individualism, basically, more and more. So it's not a good idea to show it through like any idea of conflict. They are not in a conflict thinking, but basically losing on one ground made them move to something else and just move on to be better to another one. So yeah, new generations don't really, they will cry when they're told to cry about old people, because of them people from olds, because they died, they suffered and things, but The young generations will not have so much anger towards others. Of course, you always have, a small fringe that is, nationalist and everything, but really the mainstream is not at all in that kind of thinking anymore. They are on a different ground, and they are not in the conflict, they are in their own evolution, basically. That has been the point of Japanese for many generations. They just look for the thing to. They look to learn from their mistakes and get better ways. For sure, they want the economic challenge no other such size country can compare to Japan still today. Yeah, but they saw the price of it. They saw really the feeling of Japan during the 80s, the end of the 80s, the bubble time, and after bubble is really completely different. They did lose. They lost when the bubble bursted. Really, they have that feeling that, they failed by the bursting of the bubble. Economical problems have been going harder and harder since then. So, yeah, it's more like a lost battle. The country remains rich and things, but it's not on the road of progress it used to be until the bubble bursted. We are not in the feeling of the 80s where they were buying art out of Europe and stuff. They are still a rich country, but they don't. Yeah, no, they are not in the shogunai. I would not say shogunai. They are actually learning to be more individualistic. They are learning individualism now. Yeah, they are really putting the individual forward before the group. They'll start to learn that. And for the relation to the past, they will have a look at it, say okay, but they will be concerned about themselves. They are a special version of the current world generation, but they are in the same individualistic move, which is the next move after the economy. Okay, my bag is not closing anymore. I made a mess of my organization. So here we have basically a home that would have here in the ground. Let me change the exposure. Yep. See this place here? This is the entrance of the shelter, in which people would be like this, and where you found me before. So you see, it was in the houses basically. They made it. They had no other place. They had no garden and stuff. So if the house was burning down, the shelter was not actually very safe, because they would be engulfed in the flames. It would suck up oxygen and things. So it was not really safe to be in those. People died even in shelters, I think. Like in Europe, covering the lights to try to not be visible from the sky, to reduce how much the planes could see of the landscape. couldn't recognize the city. Okay, this is a bottle of water and a rice polishing stick. Why is it here? I don't really get the point. Anyways. Those were water grenades to extinguish fire. So, mobilizing all the Japanese people, controlling daily life. You know, they had the exercise with the mask and things. Women working and preparing the defense. The gathering of materials to make weapons or to give to the soldiers. Food replacement, keeping rice for certain populations and eating something else. I see. As the Sino-Japanese War, which began in 1937, expanded in a total war, military recruitment became more extensive than before because the active soldiers became scarce. Soldiers in the first and second reserves were mobilized. Many of them were married, they had families, but they were forced to go to the front after getting only one sheet of order or color paper. As the war became more protracted, what does that mean? And expanded into the Pacific War, it became more difficult for them to return home safely. So, you know, they live the same things than European countries did. Here they have a number of victims. So this is supposed to be in 1944. And China in 1944 being only 465,000 dead, you know, it's a strange underestimation. So, you know, their numbers don't come from the same kind of textbooks that we had. Nationalist artifacts. Soldier good luck clothes with the kanji of chi on it. Huayo said, tu nous rejoins sur le dernier stretch là, said. So here you have propaganda posters. Pretty basic for the era, you know. Looks like what you found in other countries. Some pictures of the time. Postcards of Ôsaka pre-war. Reflections. I can't take a good picture, it sucks. Pre-war. So as for the development of Japanese being small and stuff, here kids at 11, okay, 14, when they are first year for junior high for France, so 11, 12 years old. Girls 129 centimeters, when boys 128, and 27 kilograms. It is less than nowadays. Nowadays I think we are over 130. My 11 years old boy is way higher than this. I need to take picture of this to make sense of it later. It's weird. Okay. So this is pretty much it, guys. Anything else? Anything else you want to ask or see before I move out of the museum? Of course, symbolism, you get some of that. I think now I am alone in the museum. There were some high school kids before, but they are gone. I think I am alone. My exposure is completely off today. I don't get it. I usually don't have any exposure problems like this. Okay, then I'm moving out. Arigatou gozaimashita. So I will. ちょっと座りたいな。ここは大丈夫ですか？はい。はい。17時。はい。あとは、はい、17。はい、5時ですね。はい、5時までね。はい、わかりました。すみません、お願いします。Still a good thing those kind of museums exist, not to future generation doing the same mistakes, although I believe they will do it. Yeah, but it's always better to give peace a chance, as it was sung. So you reduce the chances by teaching the young. So it's never a loss to teach children. Okay, so let's see. Do I? No, I won't. Okay. So we are done for today. Thank you very much to have come see what we did. If you feel the subject was interesting to you, go through the VOD of the three VODs that are here. I had a few technical problems. I was testing some stuff today, so it's in 3 pieces. And I hope to see you again next week. Hopefully the weather will be good and we will be outside on Monday. If you want to find out more and see more of my productions, consult my social page. You have all the links. Most important are Discord and Instagram. If you are a French speaker, you might be interested in my podcast that hopefully will have some new evolutions in short future, near future. And that's pretty much it. Merci beaucoup à tous. Si vous en voulez plus, n'hésitez pas à venir dans le Discord. Et puis, je vous dis à lundi, avec un peu de chance, à l'extérieur, sous le soleil. Merci beaucoup. Bye.